How confident are you in the t-shirt you're wearing tonight?
Is that even a question? Do I wear anything that I'm not 125% confident in?
Guess not.
We need to do a remote where we can actually smoke our cigar and pontificate at the same time.
I think a remote broadcast is on tap for Liberty Without Compromise. I think that's exactly what we need to do. Welcome to Liberty Without Compromise. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded program in Kootenai County where we expose politicians and social influencers. Terry Seymour's at it again. Mary White's at it again.
Those old bags.
We're your hosts, Dan and Donna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. We've already got questions coming in tonight. Thank you, Andrew, joining us on YouTube. We are going to get to that. We see you. And for those of you who want to join us, do that right there in your comment section on whichever platform you're watching. Anybody listening back on our podcast, make sure you join us live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. That is until Dan Wilson decides he ain't doing this anymore.
Doing what anymore?
You ain't doing the show anymore.
Yeah, no.
Otherwise, it's every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. But we could just decide at any point in time, we're not doing this anymore.
Could be. Maybe tonight's the night.
A reminder, and this is especially true tonight, opinions expressed are ours only, not necessarily that of our affiliates, sponsors, or advertisers, special guests. Sometimes my opinions aren't even my opinions 24 hours from now. I'm not responsible for my opinions. I don't necessarily yeah, okay. I guess that's it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Dan Wilson.
Good evening, episode 38. What are we laughing about?
I don't know.
You don't know what you're laughing about?
I think I might have had a tiny sip of that
You
whiskey.
had barely a sip.
Barely a sip before we went live. We got a little extra animation.
Backroom deals and broken trust exposing the KCRCC corruption and sheriff's power plays. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday night, 7 p.m. As Donna said, we're here just about every single week at the same time. And for those of you who aren't attending a church, maybe you consider this your gathering of like-minded people, those that believe in liberty without compromise. Now, I want to say hello to my friends down south. John, Mr. John Wooten. Hope you're having a nice cold beverage as you sit back and watch. Billy Painter, hope you're doing well as well.
You know what I forgot? I forgot what we're even talking about tonight.
Well,
I know you alluded to it a little bit, but we're pulling back the curtain of Kootenai County politics tonight from the KCRCC's sham vetting process. That's going to ruffle some feathers. Their vetting process shuts out real candidates while endorsing those with questionable records at times. And then also tonight, a former county commissioner candidate cozying up to Sheriff Bob Norris on a bear hunt as rumors swirl about that potential commissioner, there will be a potential vacancy in a commissioner spot. And if that wasn't enough, we're going to dig into reports that the sheriff has moved operations. Well, we know he's moved operations somewhere outside of Kootenai County, operations in some administrative offices. That might not even be legal. So yeah, we're going to be talking about those things tonight.
Pretty certain it's not.
Well, we like to form things in questions just to give it a chance, a little bit of a cliffhanger. I got my cowgirl boots on tonight.
Well,
they're making some noise.
They look pretty good.
Yeah, usually on the set, you get a soft-soled shoes, and I'm breaking the record. I broke the rule.
You broke the rule.
I broke the rule.
Hey, if you are in Kootenai County and you are concerned about not only your privacy, we're going to go to slide number 1, page 1. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. Then I'm calling for you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. down at the county building, 451 North Government Way. We have a data center ordinance that's going to be discussed in front of the Kootenai County Commissioners. Data centers have no place in Kootenai County, because of exorbitant amounts of water and electricity, as well as deafening noise that they produce 24/7. But also the purpose of most of these data centers rolling out are to collect and centralize data on free people through surveillance, such as traffic cameras, ALPRs, facial recognition, and so on and so forth. So if you are concerned, as I always am concerned, then we need you down there at the county building tomorrow night. 6 p.m. is I think, I'm pretty certain it's 6 p.m.
Jen can hop on and
tried texting her earlier, but no, you need to go down there. Look, I believe they're going to be putting one of these up in Rathdrum, and they suck a ton of resources. And if you're concerned about this aquifer, this crowding area of Kootenai County, then you need to get down there and make your voices heard to the county commissioners and tell them that you do not want data centers here in this beloved Kootenai County. Now, I hear that they have some really great land just to the west of us in that great state. Well, it was formerly still a great state run by a bunch of communists, Washington State, and specifically in the Spokane Valley.
Oh, Amy Fonstrom just got on and said that commissioner meeting's at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So we weren't even close. I'm glad we asked.
Well, I mean, that I only delivered what was texted to me.
Okay, Amy, can we double check that? I'm not saying you're wrong.
I'm pretty certain she's right.
Usually she is.
So yeah, get on down there. Now we had a question or two that came in.
We did. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us over on YouTube. He was on early asking questions, so we appreciate that. Andrew says, I'll put this up on the screen, as a 23-year-old man, would you please tell me how you would have, or how we, and I like this part of his question, how we should have handled Bob at the last town hall? A little bit of a complex, but I like that. I want to see where you go with that answer.
Andrew, thank you so much for that question. I'm assuming that you're referring to the February 22nd town hall where Bob Norris put his hands on a citizen and then another, made some unlawful arrests, potentially battered and assaulted some individuals, namely Teresa Bornpole and Gregory Johnson. So what do? I made a comment last week. Look at all the cowards that did nothing. Well, the very first thing is always stay calm. Do not resort to any violence. This is not the time or place. That instance did not require, at the level it was, any violence. But what I would say is use your mouth. The people that were cheering, in fact, I saved, there's an individual that probably should have been exposed a lot more because he claims that he's a guy for liberty, and he was one of the most annoying SOBs to sit in the auditorium in the row of seats screaming at the woman as she was being pulled out, that woman, Teresa Bornpole. But you have to remain calm, and you have to use your voice to let the sheriff, who loves popularity contests, let him know that what he was doing was wrong, and video the heck out of it and be a very good witness. Write down everything that you see, everything that you hear, and then you need to go to social media and you need to express yourself to those around in your sphere of what you saw and exactly why you believe that it was wrong. You don't ever put your hands on any law enforcement, just to be clear. And the sheriff should have never had anybody, even though he was acting illegally, immorally, and unjustly, at no point should anybody ever go hands-on in that situation. So that's the best advice that I can tell you is to be loud at that moment. Let everybody know. Greg Johnson was about the only one. And I got some more videos that I had not previously seen from the discovery, from the tort, or rather the exhibits that were attached to the tort claim, where Johnson was the only person standing up and saying, this is not right, leave her alone, quit touching her. And what I heard in that video makes Bob sound that much more like an idiot and a lawbreaker. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, we're looking forward to possibly seeing some of that never before seen footage or that angle.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good.
Looking forward to that.
Good likelihood that
I'm going to jump in. Andrew has another question, which I'm going to move on to because it's another good one. But want to let you know that Amy has confirmed, yes, the data center meeting in front of the board or with the board of Kootenai County Commissioners is at 10 a.m. tomorrow, Thursday, September 25th. And the location.
Not 6 p.m.
Yeah, 10 a.m. And the location is 451 North Government Way in Coeur d'Alene. That is right next to the DMV down there in Coeur d'Alene. Okay, another question from Andrew. What are things that young families need to be doing in the community to help keep liberty, remembering that personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion?
Well, first of all, Andrew, I like your moxie, and I appreciate these questions. It tells me that you are a young man that loves liberty, and you are a patriot, a thoughtful individual, and you're going to go far, no doubt. The very first thing is make certain that your immediate family, that you're all squared away. You need to be squared away in a lot of things, not only in your understanding of the United States Constitution and the laws of the state of Idaho, including the Idaho Constitution. You need to understand history. Once you start building these foundations and learning about, if you have not already, that gives you a tremendous amount of power when you are pursuing liberty, because you really know what a firm foundation that you're standing on. If you are inclined, I would highly encourage you to be a man of faith. My personal belief is that we are always dealing in a spiritual world, and that we have spiritual battles taking place, and everything that we do, including this very broadcast tonight, has a spiritual element to it. So be right in those areas. Let's see. To help keep liberty free, with your knowledge, you need to be speaking to those in your sphere of influence. You need to educate people. We find that there are a lot, I personally found, and when I say we, Donna and I, have found that there are a lot of people in this region that want to be conservative, or whatever that means anymore. They want to be pro-Constitution, but they are in love with ideas and not principles. And if you don't understand the validity of your opinion when it comes to the Constitution, when it comes to liberty without compromise, you're like a clanging bell that's making a lot of noise but isn't doing a bit of good. So if you have a firm grasp on these principles, then make certain that you're spreading that word around those that you're discussing every single day, various topics. And we've had a lot in the past 2 weeks. I think you all agree. We've had a lot in this country to discuss. Of course, I'm referring to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And there are things that are going all over, left, right, spiritually. And I'm seeing a lot of static in a lot of what people are saying. I'm not even going to get into this tonight. You and I have said we're just flat out not going to get into it. But to keep liberty, you got to build your small network, and you have to speak the truth, and you have to be bold, knowing that sometimes people that claim that they're conservatives, that they're on the same side, will come out and they'll be adversarial to you. But if you know that you're in the right, keep going, and you'll succeed in keeping this liberty.
Thank you, Andrew, for that question. And for those of you joining us live, you can do the same with questions and comments by putting that right there into the comments section on whichever platform you're joining us tonight. That's Facebook over on Liberty Without Compromise, or the Idaho Sheriff on X, or YouTube. And Ed Dupree, I was going to remind you too, be sure to share this live stream. We're live right now. Share that to your page or profile so that more of your friends and family can join our live stream tonight. Ed DePriest made, I know that this comment is related to, we talked about social influencers. We expose social influencers here on this program, which play a massive role in local politics. And the power players know the power of social influence, so they delegate that responsibility. So Ed wanted to add the names. You know, when I called out Terry Seymour, Terry Seymour's on her game the last few days. And then we got, What's her name?
Doreen Russell. They should probably
like,
give
Doreen
Russell. Doreen Russell is old enough. They should probably, because she's told us how long she's lived in Kootenai County.
I think Doreen needs the goat.
We need to give Doreen Russell her very own special observance day in Kootenai County. Maybe we should rename Neater Road after her.
We should. Yeah. Neater. We most definitely should. What was I going to say? Oh, Olivia Nelson. This is another important comment. When we're talking about the data center meeting tomorrow with a board of county commissioners at 10 a.m., that's tomorrow, Thursday, September 25th. You need to be there and to speak up in opposition to these data centers. But Olivia Nelson makes a good point. Convenient how it's when a lot of people are working. And I think that happens often, unfortunately, when they hold those meetings.
I don't always know that that's nefarious, because when you believe the amount of meetings that have to take place.
That's what yes.
But yes, there are times where you kind of think, shouldn't this one take priority?
And when you can observe the number of meetings when you look at their YouTube channel, which what I would encourage you to do, because it does help put that into perspective, how many and how often. And that they definitely could not be doing every single one of those in the evenings after working hours. So it gives some validity to them holding them during working hours when they're there during the day anyway. But yeah, this is a biggie.
Hearings should be at a time where people can not have to worry about missing work. The vast majority work 9 to 5 or 7 to 5 or whatever it is.
So I think, I heard you like bear hunting.
Have
you ever been bear?
Well,
what kind of hunting have you done?
Of course, I've been bear hunting. In fact, I chased a black bear.
I even ask?
Up in the Pre-Salmo Wilderness area back many, many years ago. I have not hunted any kind of big game for probably 20 years. Just too much time, too much expense, and but no, I love. I miss hunting. I don't like the expense today, and I really don't like how everything's designer. Everybody's got their camo on, which I understand. Our sheriff, Bob Norris, actually went out and purchased a bunch of brand new Realtree camo.
What?
So he could deck himself out. He came out with an entirely new, complete camouflage hunting outfit: boots, pants, shirt, everything.
Came out where?
Well, I'm getting to that. So
I bet I know where he bought it.
He probably went to Cabell, or no, Black Sheep.
Yeah.
And apparently,
Silver Lake, Black Sheep.
From our sources, your sheriff, the sheriff of the people, all 5'6" of him, is now bear hunting.
Why are you height shaming?
He's bear hunting with a former county commissioner candidate. I said that again, county commissioner candidate. This candidate formally told me how much they despised Bob Norris, but apparently it sounds like they're making amends, and now they're bear hunting together. And there's another rumor that a current commissioner has some medical issues and quite possibly may not be finishing their term.
All right.
So the speculation that was brought to me by those that reported two sources. So this is not just one. This is two completely separate sources, both without the other one knowing, came and told me this. But yeah, it looks like that there might possibly be some posturing in case the Board of County Commissioners needs to appoint a fill-in for the county commissioner that is ill. Allegedly ill.
What is your feeling on whether or not you cozy up to somebody or make amends if in these type of situations when there's something, you got your designs, your sights set on something like a promotion or a political office, what are your thoughts on, do you make friends with who you need to make friends with to accomplish the mission because you feel you can
isn't that the definition of being a politician versus a statesman?
Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, look, politicians generally will do whatever it takes in order to get to the final result that they're looking for. In business, we negotiate with people all the time that we don't necessarily like, but it's a business transaction. And sometimes in a business transaction, you just say, hell no. I absolutely do not want to work with you. I don't care how much you're going to pay. We're just not going to work with you. But I mean, I don't know what the motives are in this.
No.
I don't know if that's truly what the reason for that meetup, but I do know that this candidate told me on at least one occasion, right about a year ago, how much they despised Bob Norris. It wasn't even, I just don't like him. It's like, I despise him, don't trust him, he's corrupt. So it's fascinating that they're now playing bear hunter and bear guy.
That's a pretty intimate situation. I don't mean that in like a weird way, but it's pretty, you get to know somebody pretty well, I would imagine, when you're out in that kind of terrain doing that, a lot of hurry up and wait. Shane wants to know but have you been bear hunting in a helicopter? I think that makes
Shane,
that's a question that makes a good transition.
That is hilarious. I will say this. So growing up, my dad took us hunting religiously every single year, and he worked shift work. So we would hunt multiple days in a week. We'd hunt weekends. We'd hunt up to a couple weeks at a whack. Hunted a lot up out of Newport, out of the LeClary Creek area, which is near Meadowline Falls, and Power Lake, Boyer Mountain, Nelson Peak. A lot of fun, lots of bear, lots of elk, lots of deer. And I do miss it. So, but I've never shot any animal or at any animal from an aircraft platform.
Oh, well.
But
you're not even licensed. You're not even licensed for that. You didn't go through that special training to even do that.
Jesse Kelly apparently is.
Oh, nice.
Showed a picture of him shooting a hog.
We know you're being sarcastic. Thank you for the clarification. It was a good question. It brought some laughs. Mm-hmm. We knew.
Okay, so let's go to our master slide, page 2. Throw that up on the screen for me real quick.
Will do.
So if you were paying attention today to the Coeur d'Alene Press, and I know many of you don't read it anytime for any reason, but some of you do, you may have caught this really interesting headline. Insurance costs may ground Kootenai County Sheriff's Office helicopter. And that is pretty fascinating. It goes on to say that, slide page 3, insurance costs may permanently ground the helicopter used by the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, which has not been used for law enforcement purposes in more than a year, even though, by the way, we paid for that. Right now, it looks like if it's out of our price range, then the program goes away, Kootenai County Commissioner Leslie Duncan said during Tuesday's meeting. County commissioners voted unanimously in March 23 to approve an agreement between the Sheriff's Office and the newly formed nonprofit Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit for the use of Able 1, a 94 Bell 206 helicopter purchased using donated funds. The 2-year donation-funded pilot program for the helicopter unit was the first of its kind in Idaho. Between August 23 and September 24, the helicopter unit assisted various agencies during the 140 incidents or calls, according to a public log of incident reports, including 14 search and rescue operations. The helicopter has not flown for law enforcement activities or search and rescue purposes since September 12, 24, according to the incident reports. Sheriff's Office personnel previously confirmed that Able 1 has been used only for nonprofit training and maintenance since that date, due to discrepancies in the insurance policy. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris said in July that the county was found to be deficient in an area of the workman's comp insurance. Though Kootenai County does not own Able 1, the county's sole use of the helicopter means it borders on a charter service, Duncan said. For that reason, I think she actually means public use. Oh. Lieutenant Mark Ellis, the unit commander for the helicopter crew, and by the way, CFO, said insurance coverage cost $22,000 the first year the helicopter unit was active. New insurance estimate for the county is between $46,000 and $53,000 a year. It seems extremely high.
Oopsies.
The program ends for good. It's unclear what would become, if the program ends for good, it's unclear what would become of the helicopter or if the nonprofit could use it for other purposes. The Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit did not immediately return a request for comment on Tuesday. So, those of you who are new to the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast, may not know, but I ran for sheriff against Bob Norris back in 2024. And one of the areas of corruption and mismanagement that I brought up over and over again in my investigation, because of a tip that started out with, check this helicopter out, included after almost 10 months of looking in and knowing this program just about better than anybody in this county, that we really had a extremely defunct hobby helicopter that was a pay to play. It was involved in all sorts of scandals and mismanagement and lies. And among these was the fact that Kootenai County was never able to produce that this helicopter was properly insured. Now, part of my team consisted, as I was running for sheriff, of advisors, including former Air Bureau chiefs that ran helicopter and fixed wing aircraft programs for large law enforcement agencies down in California. They know what they're talking about. They understand the complexities of taking an aircraft and licensing it. Let's go back and watch this video from July of last year. I want you to hear what I had to say then, and we're going to hear what the county commissioners had to say just yesterday. So if we cue that video up, we'll start playing it too. Now, Bob Norris and Brett Nelson, I believe, were carbon copied on some of these requests. It is possible that they have this certificate, but they haven't filed it correctly. Right now, I'm going to go with the idea that the Kootenai County Regional Air Support Unit is not insured, and that the full liability is resting on ICRIMP or the Idaho taxpayers. And let me tell you, that is a huge, huge risk. And by now, those in elected officials in offices, elected offices that know what I'm asking for, if they want to head off where I'm going.
Item 4, helicopter lease and insurance.
Yep. Okay. I thought maybe I did a quick sloppy edit. So
okay.
I thought we jumped. No, we're going to play the rest of that.
Okay.
That's what I said. I was trying to figure out what I had said when I said that. That was from July of last year on the campaign trail. That was me coming out and saying, look, I've gone through every department, every agency, every office in Kootenai County, Board of County Commissioners, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, and the clerk. And I said, hey, according to this memo of understanding, which you guys have all signed, all parties have executed this, Kootenai Regional Air Support, the clerk, Board of County Commissioners, and the sheriff. You guys are supposed to produce, meaning the Regional Air Support Unit, a certificate of insurance and a policy. And they were never able to provide not only 2023 nor 2024. They attempted to send me, they thought I was dumb, which unfortunately I'm a business guy, and so I've dealt with insurance certificates and policies for 26 years.
They sent you some stuff when you did the request. They did send you some stuff.
So anyway, but I determined very quickly that the helicopter was most likely not insured, and at a minimum, it was majorly underinsured, exposing the county to extreme risk. Now, this was a thing that I made a pretty big wave about, contacting the commissioners and asking them, what are you going to do? I was very public about this. That was the end of July. And by the middle of September, that helicopter was grounded, and it still remains grounded because of lack of funding, maintenance issues, insurance. Bob Norris even bothered to let us all know that in the town hall for the shooter, it wasn't a town hall, it was his press conference.
Oh, that's right.
For the Canfield shooting, that the reason they couldn't use the helicopter was because they were deficient in workers' comp. So, I mean, this whole thing was a major fail from day one. Let's go ahead and play what the commissioners had to say yesterday. Is it playing?
You can hit play on that, can't you?
Apparently not. I have to make the screen
figure that
smaller.
way we can avoid
Currents update. It's a discussion item, and Commissioner Duncan, you're listed on here.
Yes, so we got the first quote back. It is high, and we're working on some changes to bring it down, although I don't really see how it's going to be brought down enough. So it is between $46,000 and $53,000 a year. And again, that amount could go down with some of the changes that we're making. So that would just be, if Lieutenant Ellis wants to come up and add anything.
No, as Commissioner Duncan said, it seems extremely high. I know the first year that we had complete full coverage for it, it was $22,000 a year. So that's kind of more, what an ideal would be. My question for the board is, do you need to cover the whole insurance? The reason is the sheriff's office or the county's not going to own the helicopter. The nonprofit has said that if there was a catastrophic damage to the helicopter, it would be scrapped. They wouldn't try to replace it. So that's where I think more of just the liability insurance makes more sense, but that's again up to the board.
And that's one of the changes that we're looking at asking them to do. And especially because I think the hull is overinsured anyway. So if we can insure it for less, but I believe that legal counsel recommends that we insure the hull for something. So that's what we're still working on. But I don't know if Lieutenant Ellis, if the mechanism for donations would be willing to cover this. Let's say we get it down to, 35, 40,000. Is that something that would be?
I don't believe so. No, that's half their operating budget per year. So I think their cap is going to be 10,000.
Okay. So if the insurance comes back at over 10,000, then I guess we're not going to have a program. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'd have to agree with.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand this. This insurance quote is for the county to pay, but possibly nonprofit?
It is.
Okay. Might be willing to pick up some or all. It just really depends on where that final number is.
The talk of it, since they already pay for their own insurance policy, they don't want to pay for another insurance policy that's for the county. But they're willing to forego the $10,000 that the county is paying to the nonprofit every year so the county can pay for insurance.
Just out of curiosity, how can we insure for a hull that we don't own? That's like insuring for your car, your personal car, right? We don't own your personal car.
Because it's a public
What's that?
aircraft.
I 100% agree with you. That's what I'm trying to figure out why the county even needs to cover the whole. I don't see a reason behind that. It's like me insuring my patrol car right
And
now.
which attorneys recommended this? Is this outside counsel or internally?
Both outside and internally. But we can have that discussion. I think it has to do with, because it is a, what is the term that they call it?
Public use.
It borderlines that charter service because we're the only ones using it. So, but
Public
yeah,
use.
we can delve into that further. Again, I just wanted to get something in front of us as soon as possible because it's been a whole year since the helicopter's been down.
Agreed.
So now we can go back and fine tune things, but it sounds like that the county could put the $10,000 that we historically have used for a helicopter program, we could put it towards insurance. And then if the board decided they wanted to cover additional insurance, they could do that. But right now, it looks like if it's out of our price range, then the program goes away.
Okay. Well,
So we'll keep working on that, and hopefully now that we have a baseline, we can make changes fairly quickly.
all right. Commissioner Eberlein, any thoughts? Nope. Anything you want to add? Okay. All right. Anything else?
Why do they want a helicopter so bad?
Well, it started out as my belief, it was a hobby. It was this pipe dream that Mark Ellis, who you just saw there, lieutenant, got a bunch of donors together. Now, his brother is an undersheriff over in Spokane County and ran the air unit Spokane County, which is far more superior. And Kootenai County has never needed a helicopter. We had an agreement, a memo of understanding, to use the Air One out of Spokane, which is only about another 5 minutes away from where our airstrip is. By the way, the helicopter flies 10 minutes at the most, for $10,000 a year. And when Bob and Ellis went before the Board of County Commissioners in late 22 and then early in 23, coincidentally after Mark, sold us on the fact that it wasn't going to cost the county anything more than $10,000. And then after they agreed, because the original county commissioner before Bruce Matari, that Bruce Matari replaced, said, hell no, he didn't want this program. Matari is the winning vote. They voted in. And then promptly, right thereafter, they give them $100,000 of civil asset forfeiture money to put on this aircraft that the county does not own. Forward-looking infrared and a spotlight, radios. They bought them flight suits. They bought them a whole bunch of stuff, and it was supposed to be completely donated by the community. And the community has never really bought off on it to the degree that they claimed that it was going to work. And they had 2 years, and 50% of that first year was a complete failure. If you don't have the proper insurance, and notice, the county back this spring had to allot $10,000 to bring outside counsel that specializes in aircraft and aviation to advise them on how to write this memo of understanding up and to look over coverages. And look, we told you last year, it wasn't a real 501c3. There was no record. There was no record that the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit ever had a valid 501c3 when they started. It looks like they were getting money that was siphoned through the sheriff's office search and rescue. I gave a $5 donation. I told you this, that American Express tracked it to a lease, a leasing equipment leasing lending company out of California. And it was massively underinsured. And so this is what we're hearing. Look, two attorneys, both their auxiliary attorney that they brought in, as well as the attorney for the county, said, you have to overinsure this thing. If it goes down, it's not a matter of it's only going to cost $2 million. It's going to cost a lot more.
Well, or lives.
Well,
you still
when lives go down, it costs.
Yeah,
right. It's civil.
You still have Mark Ellis, who's sitting there, and he is the lead of. He's a lieutenant at KCSO.
He's the lieutenant at KCSO.
And then the lead director, lead program manager
is the CFO of the Regional Air Support Unit. So he oversees the nonprofit that he's the CFO of.
So he's the guy that should know the most and be the most embedded in this program, and he is still sitting there on whatever day this happened, a couple days ago, a very recent meeting. Yeah. And he said, I don't even understand why it's already insured by the nonprofit. I don't understand why we need to insure it. He said, that would be like me having to insure my patrol car, like me personally having to insure my patrol. That's what he was comparing it to.
Well, that's why you don't let cops make business decisions. I mean, hey, Ellis, all you knuckleheads out there wanted to berate me during the campaign, saying that my 12 years of law enforcement experience was laughable and that I was inexperienced. Well, then let's flip that around. You as a cop, a lieutenant, have no business making any kind of business deals. And you sure as heck shouldn't be making business deals on behalf of the county. So if we're gonna roll that way. But speaking of this, it reminds me that all of you out there, have to be continually in the business of the county, your government. Don't just take their word that they're doing things by the book. 50%, I've heard this said before, 50% of those that are in any kind of position or office really don't even know what they're doing. They're trying to figure it out as they go. Now, that figure may be off slightly, but don't assume that just because you have a county commissioner like Matari, that he knows what he's talking about. I mean, his businesses have been based off of predatory lending. Personal opinion, not saying that it's the truth, but all you have to do is go back to Blue Hippo, that business that he had to turn a witness against because they were fleecing the disadvantaged. And I'm pretty positive his business model has not changed today, but whether you have that or any elected official, the KCRCC is hell-bent right now, you're going to talk about this, on bringing us incompetent individuals. And I think you're better off rolling in and explaining this far better than I will.
I want to say something before we move on to that segment about what you were just putting out there, that you have to realize that a lot of these elected officials, I think we elect them into office and we're like, we're
experts.
treating it like a business to say, I hire people to take problems off my hands. And that is a problem because we're treating the elected officials like we are doing business between them and we have hired them to take problems off of our hands. But you're bringing to light that you got upwards of half of them that are inexperienced and figuring it out as they go.
And that's speculative. I don't know what the real percentage, but a lot.
Less than half. For even if it was 30%. The reality is you have many of them that are figuring it out as they go. They aren't necessarily the experts. And they need to be held accountable. It's not we're electing you to take problems off of our hands, so therefore I'm going to go watch baseball or football or whatever I'm going to do and not check back in on this.
And I'm going to show two quick things here.
Yeah.
So one of them was right after we moved up into the Athol area, you were putting out this parody video that you were doing where you were reporting in Athol as if you were breaking news. And it was all extremely satire. It was tongue in cheek.
It was a satirical
and
late breaking news from Athol. We're down here at Coffee Corral. That line's really backed up and it's causing controversy. That's what it was that.
So everybody in the community loved it. You were getting a lot of views, a lot of comments. And you did one time outside of the fire station up there, outside of the fire index or the level,
the chart that shows today's fire index, and they go out and they move
and
the
so
needle.
you stood next to it and you made some comment like, hey, it's hot, and something about marriage.
Guys are coming down to this fire index to know whether or not the mood they should go in when they're home tonight based on it's
this tool like from the fire station. I think he's a commissioner. What was his name?
Rudy,
you're a tool. You and I actually had words because you messaged Donna and demanded that she take that down, that she was somehow implying that the fire station paid for by yours and my taxes, that you couldn't make a satirical video, and he demanded that you take it down.
Oh, it would be in violation of their sexual harassment.
It's something. But this is an example of the tools that we elect into positions that don't know what the hell they're doing. I said I was going to do two, but once you actually...
You're over it?
Yeah, just go ahead and roll
We get the point. The question is the Kootenai County... Sometimes I forget. Not everybody knows what KCRCC... We even have... some people stepping up running for office right now for the November election that stumble over the KCRCC. We forget that probably the majority don't know. Kootenai County Republican Central Committee.
Or the KFC, as we like to also call them.
Fried chicken. They do a vetting process of candidates that are running. Do they only vet Republican candidates? So if you want to be vetted by them with any hopes of winning an election, you have to be a registered Republican. Just do with that in your mind what you will. And there's been some controversy surrounding this vetting process. So the question that we have for you tonight is the KCRCC vetting process a sham? So watch this. Let's watch this together. Remember that we're live. Share this feed to your page or profile. While we're in this segment for the next 7.5 minutes, we are watching this live for the first time together. Feel free to drop your comments on whichever platform you're watching. Is the KCRCC vetting process a sham? Stay on topic. About compromise, we've long said that Kootenai County Republican Central Committee's so-called vetting process is a complete joke. It's not transparent, it's not fair, and it's not serving voters. We've seen it firsthand in early 2024 when Dan went through their process. It was anything but impartial. Committee members openly showed bias, some even attacking him at his own campaign events, while others who sat on the vetting committee were actively campaigning for his opponent, Sheriff Bob Norris. Now, that's not vetting, that is a rigged process. Fast forward to today, and the same corruption is on display. This week, multiple candidates running for local office have publicly stated that they were denied the KCRCC's recommendation, even though their opponents received it. Screenshots from these candidates are circulating on social media as proof, And what's the KCRCC response? They're jumping into comment sections calling it fake news and claiming it's up to each candidate to chase down the committee and beg for an interview. With the November 4th election right around the corner, the KCRCC has already published its list of recommended candidates. And because so many voters take that card to the polls, their opponents are starting the race at a huge disadvantage. This isn't grassroots representation. This is machine politics controlled by Brent Reagan and a handful of insiders. Tonight, we're exposing exactly how this works and why it matters now more than it ever has. I'll show you the screenshots, the candidate statement, and the proof that the KCRCC is misleading the public and manipulating elections in Kootenai County. Now, here's where it gets even more disturbing. This week, a post from Mikhaela Charter, the wife of firefighter and fire commissioner candidate Jason Charter, went public. And it confirms everything we've been saying about the KCRCC's broken system. Jason has 18 years of firefighter experience, nearly 35 years as a North Idaho resident, and a lifetime rooted in faith, family, and service. He's running for fire commissioner, and yet, according to Mikhaela, he never received an invitation from the KCRCC to participate in their so-called vetting process. Neither did most of the other candidates in his race. 2 out of the 3 were excluded entirely. But here's the kicker. The KCRCC didn't just ignore these candidates. They went further, claiming publicly that those candidates chose not to respond. And that's a lie. It's also insulting to the very people who care enough about their community to step up and run for office. Think about that. Men and women with decades of service to this community, people rooted here for their entire lives, are being erased from the process because they're not the chosen ones. Meanwhile, the committee manipulates the narrative, telling voters it's the candidate's fault. As Mikhaela points out, this isn't about who wins an endorsement, it's about the integrity of the process itself. When groups like the KCRCC say they represent conservative values, but behind closed doors deny candidates even the opportunity to be heard, that's not integrity, that's corruption, and it misleads the very voters that they claim to serve. And here's yet another example, this time from Renee Mullen, a candidate for Rathdrum City Council, seat number 3. Renee explains that she was contacted by the KCRCC and they promised to email her the candidate questionnaire. But here's the problem. They got her email address wrong. By the time they admitted their mistake, it was too late. The endorsements had already gone out. She never got the chance to be vetted. Now think about that. A candidate steps up to run, makes herself available, and loses her shot at the fair consideration because the KCRCC botched her contact information, and instead of making it right, they still went ahead and handed out endorsements. Now, Renee calls it out publicly, and what happens? She's already anticipating Mary White's spin. She chose not to go through the process and that it's the candidate's responsibility to chase down the committee. That is the same blame shifting and gaslighting that we saw just a moment ago. And here's the kicker on this one. While excluding her, the KCRCC is endorsing John Hodgkins in Rathdrum, a candidate with a voting record that includes voting against property rights and even recusing himself from votes altogether. So they block a fresh candidate from even being vetted while propping up someone who's already proven they won't stand firmly for the community. This is the pattern. The KCRCC makes mistakes, excludes candidates, then tells the public it's the candidate's fault. Meanwhile, they funnel their support toward the chosen ones who will toe the line no matter their record. And voters are supposed to trust this process? Absolutely not. Now let's look at how members of the KCRCC are trying to defend this so-called vetting process online. This is Mary White. She's both part of the KCRCC and one of the loudest voices right now running interference when candidates are calling out the failures of their process. Here's what she posted. Now notice what happens here. She doesn't address the actual complaint that candidates were never contacted, never interviewed, never given the opportunity to be vetted. Instead, she leads with, "This is fake news." That's a classic tactic. Discredit the accuser before even responding to the substance. Then she shifts the blame. She says it's the candidate's responsibility to go on the KCRCC website and make sure that they're vetted. In other words, if you weren't interviewed, it's not because the committee failed, it's because you didn't do your homework. That's not accountability, that's blame shifting. Next, she tries to soften the failure by saying they attempt to reach out by email or phone just as a courtesy. Framing it as a courtesy is key. It lowers the expectation that they're actually responsible for ensuring fairness in the process. If they reach out, great. If they don't, oh well, apparently that's the candidate's problem. Finally, look at how she sprinkles in the words like, we want every candidate to participate, and mentions background checks and interviews. That's meant to create the illusion of rigor and inclusivity, but here's the reality. Multiple candidates are saying publicly they never even got a shot. Those words don't line up with the facts. So what's happening here? It's deflection, gaslighting, and spin. Call it whatever you want, but it's not transparency, it's not integrity, and it's certainly not fair to the voters of Kootenai County. This is how the KCRCC protects their monopoly: deny, deflect, and distract. Meanwhile, candidates who could be excellent public servants are excluded, and the voters are left with a stacked deck. The KCRCC's recommendation card is already out, but after watching this, you've got to ask yourself, what is that card really worth? If voices are silenced, if candidates are ignored, and if endorsements are based on power and money rather than fairness and transparency, then those endorsements mean nothing. The only way forward is for voters to do exactly what Mikhaela said: do your own research, meet the candidates, and make your decision based on truth, not shortcuts. Because if the KCRCC had their way, you'd never even know that some of the most qualified candidates in our county even exist. We had yet another candidate that I spoke with over the phone, and I'm just going to keep that private. They were firmly of the opinion they know that they're qualified, supremely qualified for that position. And after speaking with them, I would agree, but they're so focused on running a positive campaign and not throwing that shade that they just weren't willing to put that out there, which I respect. But that was a third account this week alone.
Yeah. Well, why is it a disadvantage to have the candidates that are running as, Republicans in a primary? Why is it a disadvantage to have the endorsement, the vetting rating card go out? Well, it's very simple. The reason why is because this is the Republican Party in Kootenai County. And I don't know that there's any rule that says or guarantee that tells the local party that they get to determine who is and who is not a Republican. Now, obviously, common sense has to prevail, but here's the problem. When you are the official party in this county, Republican Central Committee, and you have all these donations coming through PACs and through other donors, and you have this war chest, respectively, how does somebody that is a independent, and I'm not saying independent as in an independent candidate, but they haven't bought off into joining up and becoming,
you're not part of that machine,
part of that group. How do they get a fair shake to the electorate here in Kootenai County when they spend tens of thousands of dollars putting out this rating and vetting card? And people admit all the time, and you probably, I'm gonna shame you tonight if you've taken that card out without researching every person on that card because you think that this local central committee, just because they claim that they're conservative and because they're putting in supposedly conservative representatives and that they're MAGA or they're not rhinos, that you can trust them. Shame on you. Check yourself and don't fall for that crap.
Get this, though. In a conversation I was having yesterday with one of these people running for office right now, they admitted it took them until right now to actually going down and saying in excitement, filling out whatever paperwork you need to run for whichever office. It wasn't until they woke up one morning and saw their name on that. It's the precursor to them voting, I think. They tally. I showed it at the beginning. It's not the
precursor, it's the actual vote.
It is the actual vote. So you see the tally sheet.
So
and I have that
the
there
vetting
in the
committee,
video.
the vetting committee, and then they deliberate, and then they start telling the entire PCs, who they recommend and why, and there's supposed to be some Q&A. And then at the end of the day, it's by secret ballot, supposedly.
Right. So it wasn't until they wake up early one morning, her and her husband, and he sees it first, and he's like, your name is on this sheet, and it's got like 5 tallies next to it.
They put this on social media.
Yeah, okay. This is fine. It's got 5 and so they're like, well, this is Renee Mullen. She actually published that, and I showed the screenshot, so it's okay to share because that was public information already. But she's like, well, thank you to that. She never went through the vetting process because that was the whole miscommunication with it never got to her with the email address, and so she was saying, like, I am also to blame because I have been that person that's taken the Republican card to the polls because I'm like, they're vetted and this is how I should vote. And we're starting to realize it is taking some people all the way to the point where they themselves are running for office before they figure out, wait a second, like they're personally done wrong before you realize.
Here's the problem. We can say whatever we say on a weekly basis right here, and we have our limited scope. You out there have your limited scope. In a county where something like 100,000 people are registered voters and about 60-something to 70% are Republicans, they don't pay attention because most of the electorate are stupid. Most of the electorate are lazy. Most of them are too busy with their kids' baseball games and, church activities to actually take 20 minutes a day to research a candidate. And so what happens is Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, I don't care if Jeff Tyler himself, who came up with this, wants to argue until he's blue in the face about how great this is. It's not, because you guys are preempting anybody else from having a fair shake because the electorate is lazy. You guys know that. And you are choosing kings, and you're not choosing kings based on their ability to do the job and what their morality is. Angelo Brunson is a great example of that. We talked about this in his own words. He even admitted he doesn't know anything about water and sewer. He's not even qualified, but yet they shove him in there. And this is the problem that you have. You have the ideology of Brent Reagan, who controls the group. Don't let anybody else con you.
He's altruistic.
The problem with Brent Reagan is he came in at a time when he was able to seize the organization. Bravo to him. Well played.
True.
But too many of you are too close, smoking the weed, drinking the Kool-Aid, and not realizing that the guy is running on ideologies, ideals, not principles. In fact, I claim a Republican, if you are a conservative leading a conservative organization and you took money during COVID, I'm sorry, my personal opinion is, and especially if you're a trust fund baby and don't need that money, that does not espouse conservative values.
Be specific about that.
Brent Reagan has a company. I think it's Reagan Manufacturing. And during COVID, it's my understanding his company was helping produce parts for respirators that were going out. And he got one of those payday protection loans. He went out and got $75,000 of it. And then it was all forgiven. He didn't have to pay it back. But he was making you would believe that if you're making parts during COVID, when all the rest of you were told you're not essential, stay home, but he's making medical parts, you could conclude that he's probably bringing in some good money. But we know that he has money because one of the executive members in a closed meeting several months ago told me flat out, the reason that Brent helps everybody out with their legal expenses and other things like this town hall, because Ed Bajarana was running his mouth after that town hall event, scared up at a Mexican restaurant in Hayden, saying that,
if you're sitting at a Mexican restaurant airing your problems and grievances, just remember you're in public.
He was bragging that Brent was picking up everybody's legal bills.
Yeah.
For, their representation for this. And so I asked this executive member, would Brent still be as monetarily generous if he was no longer the chairman and without missing a beat? This executive board member said, no, he wouldn't. That tells me everything I need to know. Do you guys not understand that your liberty is hanging on the line because you have a bunch of zealots who claim that everybody else that does not believe entirely the way they do are rhinos? They throw it around. It's a racism word for the Republicans.
Means nothing anymore. I want to get on to, so what's the alternative? What is an alternative? What is the solution? Because some of these guys running for office don't have websites. I can't find them. Where's the cheat sheet for who's even running? So if I have this long list of names, that's where I at least have to start if I'm going to go through one by one and go find all the different platforms and where, what do I do? Well, it is consolidated. It has been aggregated. So I want to talk to you about Watchmen Ministry. And Watchmen Ministry North Idaho was created in November of 2019 by Elsa and Daniel Owsley. And I'm going to skip down here. They've been producing voter guides since May of 2020 and have covered 11 election cycles this far here in Kootenai County, I believe. This ministry started as their way of giving back to the community that they absolutely love. They do not take donations. They are not funded by any special interest group. That has been their policy from the very beginning. Now, here's what makes they publish these voter guides here in Kootenai County. What makes them unique? It is completely fair for everyone. They put their own time and treasure into creating these voter guides. They do not tell anyone who to vote for. They believe firmly that the voters are best suited to decide who their leader should be, not a small group of individuals who decide for them. They're not affiliated with any local, state, national PAC, or political party. That's important to know. So, further explanation of what they do, they provide surveys and then allow candidates to answer those questions. And I think it's also on this about page somewhere, they publish those questions. They publish the answers unedited. And that is a resource where you can go. It's Watchmen. Let me make sure I get that domain right. I'll paste it in the comment section, but it's watchmenministrynorthidaho.com. And we will remind you of that again once they publish the voter guides for this cycle. But there is no bias. Yeah. It's unedited. They are posting the answers. You can go. And it's just been curated so that you know who's running, who chose to answer, and what their answers are, and you decide.
When I was running, I had about a dozen, give or take, organizations that wanted to have me fill out their survey.
I talked to this about this to one of the candidates today.
Boilerplate, so it wasn't like you could just take your answer. I mean, you had to tailor them, and some of them you were limited on characters, and I get that. But the thing about it is I am not against organizations coming up with their recommendations. That's fully acceptable. I used to be not a board member. I was a participant of the We Believe We Vote, which kind of started the vetting process in the region over in Spokane. Penny Lancaster, great gal, and it was well done. It runs circles around the KCRCC's subjective surveying questionings. I'm not opposed to that. I am opposed 125% against the Central Committee telling the rest of the people in the county and using their resources at a disadvantage. That is not a Republican principle. You let the voters decide who the person is in the primaries. You don't sit there and stack the deck against those that you are opposed to. And I saw the full wrath. I came out running in December of 2023, thought I was going to talk about what my ideas and the differences were between me and Bob Norris. And I quickly changed within 45 days my entire campaign based on the behavior, the absolute disgusting behavior.
Repugnant
behavior. Thanks for that word. That's
You're
a cool
welcome.
word. By those inside the KCRCC, specifically the vetting committee, including sitting elected representatives that would come to my town halls with the intent to try to disrupt, to embarrass, to ridicule, all those things. And it has to stop. And if you guys won't start pushing back and telling Brent Reagan to take that shit and shove it, then you're going to have to live with the nincompoops that are running this county right now.
It's not only that. I mean, you got Terry Seymour, who was a friend of somebody who's running, and she's coming out and starting, the claws are coming out. So you're seeing these dual personalities. You think, for all I've known, the person.
When was she doing that?
She's doing it this week.
Hey, Terry, I got a question. How did your trial go? How did your court date and your sentencing go? My understanding is that you were cited for some inattentive driving or something. We're going to dig into that a little more. It's been kind of in the back burner, but you probably, of all people, should keep your mouth shut, Terry.
Well, talk about the absolute arrogance that you can have those kind of problems going on. I'll just allude to it in your personal life, and the absolute arrogance, like none of that matters. Somehow you're going to skate through whatever you're doing, and I'm here to tear down. I'm going to tear down the opposition of whoever the KCRCC has recommended. And that's another clue. Look for clues. These guys, not only, it's not enough, the ones who are associated with the KCRCC, it's not enough for them to just publish their guide. They are sending their agents out on social media to tear down anybody that dare run against them. So you're already at a disadvantage that you didn't get the recommendation, but they're not going to leave that alone. They will eviscerate you or do whatever they can to embarrass you. Or in the case of the conversations I've had over the last couple of days, they're going to poke and poke and poke and poke on social media to put you in defense mode so that you have to come and clear the record. And then as you're telling them that they're not being truthful, they're accusing you of running smear and how dare you, and turn it right back around. And they are trying to wear you down. Yeah. That is not a conservative tactic. That's what makes me sick about this. And that's why 2 years later, after getting an initiation to what's going on with that central committee here in Kootenai County, that it is still, and it will be until this is resolved. It needs to be dismantled, such as it is. My opinion. That's my opinion.
My opinion too.
And, so I've published, don't come after me with a toothless lawsuit. It's my opinion because I have experienced it. I was arm in arm with Dan when we ran that campaign in 2024. I went through.
People don't know everything that's what people said. Yeah.
I attended the meetings. We sat through what their vetting process is and understand and realize the holes in that process and the injustices that were done, and only realized when we got that far into it, looking back at the very beginning, their own people were out at the beginning, the first time you made a public appearance. Yeah. They're vetting committee members.
You had city county commissioner and special deputy Bruce Matari that came to my very first kickoff and attempted.
You must have been like a special dude. They were afraid of you.
And Dupree says, Watchmen wanted to have a Hayden candidate forum, but Luke Sommer, which I believe is running against Ed, Luke Sommer and White, I believe he's talking about Sandy White, won't participate. Why? Because KCRCC endorsed candidates only do KCRCC safe forums. And you know what? I would agree with that. I'm going to share something. And I know that some of my friends out there are going to be really pissed, but I'm going to say this anyway. Sandy came to one of my events with her husband. Oh. Invited. It wasn't it was private, but it wasn't like top secret. I should go pull up
that picture right now.
And we talked with Sandy. And, I hear that Sandy does a lot of good. I hear that.
We have friends who defend what she does.
This is where I'm going to split with my friends. And again, it has to be said. Sandy apparently became unhinged. She was, after the private meet and greet or town hall, whatever we're calling it, was done. It was open to whoever wanted to come, but at a private residence. We had our cameras running, as we did at every event, video and stills. And as was typical for anytime we were doing events, we would post it on social media. There was one picture that had just the side or the top of her husband's head. And she freaked out and demanded through third parties that we take that picture down because she's so afraid of being attacked. And I'm sick and tired of the same thing. She's with the KCRCC. Well, where's your coverage there? Or if you're afraid, Sandy, of what the KCRCC is going to do to you because you dare go to somebody's town hall Doesn't mean you're endorsing them, but because you dare go, then you probably shouldn't be a leader. You probably should not be in the position you are if you are that weak. And I've waited a year and some change to say that because I'm sick of it. If you guys knew the amount of bullshit that occurred during the campaign, and if it happened to me, it had to happen to many of you because of this freaking KCRCC and the way it's currently run, these bullies and these tyrants, the whole damn thing as it stands needs to be burned down. And so it doesn't surprise me, Ed, that Sandy wouldn't do this because she's claiming she's a martyr, I'm guessing, right? Can't debate. I don't know. I'm not impressed with her. If she's a coward to come to one of my events and demand that we take down a picture of her husband unless she runs into some kind of interference, she shouldn't be in that position.
Because you attended a public event of somebody who's running for office, you have no right to listen to their platform. I mean, talk about censoring. Because the issue there was she's endorsed by the KCRCC. That's the hand that feeds her. So how dare you go and hear, because Dan Wilson had a strong, powerful message and a plan. And that's what they were afraid was going to get out. So they have to bar their own members, their own candidates who are endorsed by them from even understanding who else is running the race. It's sick. And not to mention, debate is out the window. Because if you're putting weak-minded and ill-equipped people into your list of recommendations, they would be humiliated in public debate. And I guarantee the people running the last few days who I spoke to regarding the sham of the vetting process and how they were wronged, extremely articulate, well-spoken, highly experienced.
But Brent Reagan will call him a rhino.
This community.
He'll call him a rhino.
Conservative. Oh, yeah, because at some time in the past, they may have come 20 some odd years ago from California and were a registered Democrat in the days where we will all admit now, I don't recognize that party anymore. And so they will waste their breath accusing somebody who has proven conservative voting records, stances, and improving themselves in the community longer than you've been here.
But Brent Reagan can take a government handout.
He sure did.
While he's making money, most likely hand over fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I want to say Watchmen Ministry, because we were talking about them as an alternative. If you want to know who's running and you want to learn how you should vote based on information, not because somebody else told you how you should vote or who's supposedly conservative, Watchmen Ministry North Idaho publishes a voter guide. They do not make recommendations. They publish unedited answers. So they cover the elections for Kootenai County, Bonner County, Boundary County, and Shoshone. I just wanted to
tell you how
out.
integrous they are. We did not know them prior to running for office.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, I was filling out so many of these surveys, and it was right at the very end of the
probably
campaign.
Almost didn't even.
And and so what I did was I had drafts, and then I mixed one of my drafts up, and it was incomplete. So I was copying, pasting onto their format
for like your final version.
And I missed a bunch of what I did because I didn't do a copy and paste correctly. And then I saw it published, and I said, hey, I'm real sorry. I'm embarrassed. I should have paid attention to detail, but I missed and I didn't complete this. Can I change it? And the answer was respectfully, no.
It's already been published.
So I can't say that. I mean, I wasn't asking at the time. I wasn't thinking I was asking for a favor. I was just asking, is it possible? But just to tell you how integrous they are at Watchmen, they just flat out said, sorry.
If that makes sense, the survey results had been published. Yeah. So if you're really thinking about that, if somebody didn't have, Dan missed finishing an answer because of a copy and paste mistake, well, the problem is if he didn't have integrity, it would put him in an advantage to go back and say, ooh, I've now read my opponent's answers and I want to edit mine. Well, again, it was an honest mistake on this side, but it was the right thing for Watchmen Ministry when they said, I'm sorry, those have been published. We are just not able to change those answers. So we had to live with it such as it was. And that makes sense.
But they're doing the Lord's work right now, literally and figuratively. So I would highly encourage you, as Donna said, to take a look at what they have to offer and listen to the candidates in their own words
I put that
what
link,
they're saying.
and I put that link in the comment section for you guys to follow. And then I know you had one more.
We're starting to get out of time, so that we're continually pushing the envelope on our hour and a half now. It used to be an hour, hour and a half.
Just make it up as we
2
go.
hours. Let's talk real quick about Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and their Hayden headquarters.
I think that's a good one because that's been a while ago that has happened, and I think that's flown under the radar.
Send me to page 5 of my slide if you would.
I will do that.
By the way, outstanding segment that you put on there.
Thank you.
Thank
you, sir.
Kootenai County Sheriff's Office moves to Hayden. This was back in January. You saw this in the Kootenai Press. They wanted to announce to the world that this week, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office patrol detectives, records, civil, and recreation safety divisions are relocating from the 5500 North Government Way in Coeur d'Alene to a building previously owned by Kootenai Electric Cooperative located at 2451 West Dakota Avenue in Hayden. Bob Norris and Brent Nelson both made comments. We're going to skip down. Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Bob Norris will maintain an office in the Government Way facility, and some employees will remain at the site to conduct business for the Civil Records Division. The remaining administrative offices in the original building will be occupied by the jail. And Brent Nelson goes on to say that the relocation will not hamper anybody's ability or the office's ability to serve the community. Well, that's interesting, Brett Nelson, because what you guys did is, from everything I can tell, illegal. So it doesn't matter whether or not it was inconvenient or not. Idaho Code 312009, offices to be kept at the county seat, to include the sheriff's office. So recorders, treasurers, everybody has to maintain their offices in the county seat. So, of course, the county has multiple cities, but the law states Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, their main office has to be right in Coeur d'Alene.
Well, maybe they could let the nonprofit air support unit use the facility.
Go to page, I think I already slid it through 8. I'm just learning how to use this. So I guess I already did it myself.
You don't even need me anymore.
A decision by the Idaho State Supreme Court, specifically on a very similar case about offices and where they're held, was decided by the Supreme Court in Bradbury versus Idaho Judicial Council. And in this ruling, Supreme Court has enforced such statutory mandates in the past. The court held that the location requirements for public officials are mandatory, not optional. The court looked at the actual practice of where the official worked and resided, not just labels. By analogy, reducing the sheriff's office at the county seat to limited services raises serious compliance concerns. Now, in all fairness, this was, I don't know when it was decided to move. We know that there was a agreement to buy the building from Kootenai Electric back in 2020. Don't know if it was originally purchased with the intent to make it a sheriff office. But we have great viewers. And while I have followed this, not as closely, this was brought up to my attention here several weeks ago. So I'm not going to claim any kind of ownership. These questions were written by somebody other than me. I'm not accepting any credit for it. I will keep this person anonymous, but let's just say that they are in the legal realm and understand the law and the nuances far more than I do. And they bring up some great points. These are questions that the sheriff needs to provide for those of us in the county. So, you know, you have right next to the fairgrounds in Coeur d'Alene, north of downtown, but, you know, still part of the greater Coeur d'Alene area, you have the jail and the sheriff's office that has been there for a very long time. Now they took most of their services that are non-jail related and they moved it all the way up. How far is it? I didn't even check. Somebody can tell me. Probably Ed can tell me how far it is.
How far it is between the two, the facility on Government Way and then the other one in Hayden.
But they moved it out to this Kootenai Electric building, former Kootenai Electric building that is way out by the Hayden Airport. It's hard to get to. It gets very congested because it's a, 2-lane road. But here are the questions that our fabulous viewer posed to us that we should be asking right now. And I agree. These are great questions. So we'll go to question number 1. Why did you move the sheriff's main offices out of Coeur d'Alene, the county seat, and into Hayden? So Shane's saying 4 to 5 miles. Thank you, Shane.
Yep.
It's not convenient. People have to run between the public safety building, the county building, all the way towards downtown Coeur d'Alene. There's a long stretch. Question number 2. What does limited services mean in practice? Can residents still file reports, obtain records, and access civil services at the county seat, or must they now travel to Hayden? Good question. I've heard mixed answers on this. 3. Have the county commissioners formally set and published office hours for the sheriff's office in Coeur d'Alene as the law requires? Those of you that have extra time on your hands, here's a homework assignment. See if you can conclude if the commissioners have formally set and published the office hours for the sheriff's office in Coeur d'Alene. Number 4, do you believe the sheriff's office is fulfilling Idaho Code 31-2009, which we just read, when the public is told the main offices are no longer at the county seat? Now, we're taking that quote from the Coeur d'Alene Press article. So that was taken directly by the interview Brent Nelson gave to the Coeur d'Alene Press. Number 5, in light of the Idaho Supreme Court's ruling in Bradbury versus Idaho Judicial Council, which enforced statutory location mandates, how do you justify reducing Coeur d'Alene's access to the sheriff's office? Another great question. Lastly, what process or approval, if any, was sought from the county commissioners before making this move, and how much taxpayer money was spent? I don't know, Bob knows how to put a budget together, so I bet you he doesn't probably understand an expense sheet. I don't know why my program does this when we broadcast it here.
Putting all kinds of weird lines around your image there.
This is supposed to be, that's embarrassing. That is the sign out front of the new headquarters in Hayden. And it's the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, North Campus. Sheriff Robert Bob Norris presiding.
The point being, he's got his name on the sign. He's got his name on the sign. Ramona Grissom was saying, I thought the sheriff never asked to move. He didn't even want the building. He said that during a public meeting. Weird.
Well, if he didn't want to move as the sheriff, then who forced him to move?
He didn't even want to. Mm-hmm. They made him.
Yeah.
They made him do it.
But again, I said this earlier. You guys assume that your elected officials know what the hell they're doing. And I'm telling you right now that if you want to maintain your liberty, if you want to maintain financial integrity, look, hell, our sheriff's budget's now over close to $55 million a year. I heard very little pushback by the commissioners when it came to the funding request of Bob Norris. It has gone up from $34 million to $55 million. Now, some of that was for the pod expansions. I get that. But still, by and large, the budget's increased over 30%. Plus, we have these incoming civil lawsuits, these tort claims. What is it? $7.5 million right now in tort claims, not including the lawsuit from Penny Collinson, which supposedly the county is not on the hook for now. But look, we have to start holding every one of these politicians accountable. Hold the assessor accountable. People see things that he does and they don't like it. Well, then look into what he's doing.
And when you say...
I'm not saying that he is doing something good or bad. I'm just saying look into it.
But when you say you cannot assume that an elected official knows what they're doing. And Dan Wilson is living proof of that, because over the 2024 campaign, once you really, truly started realizing what you were dealing with and digging into Bob Norris, his history and his administration, I mean, you were able to take him down at the knees on many aspects with proof and evidence, as you were accused of not having. He just has platitudes.
Yeah.
No, proof and evidence to an embarrassing degree that this guy does not know what he's doing. Yeah. I mean, the helicopter, the shady wreck of a helicopter program is proof of that. The LPR program is proof of that. And Dan Wilson's the only one coming around saying, what about this? What about this? What about this? Shucks.
Well, we've concluded.
We never thought anybody would ask.
Here's the problem.
That's really what they thought.
Everybody knows I ran for sheriff, and everybody likes to say, well, you lost, so why are you
Get
acting
over
this?
it.
Get over it.
We heard it today.
Because
Thank you.
You guys, because of the KCRCC and those that just blindly went. And I mean, I had those that voted for me and supported me were outstanding people, and they came from every walk of life. Every walk of life, and finer group of people I don't know that exists. But the reality of it is that there were many things that occurred while I was running where I was producing this proof all the time, and it didn't matter how much I produced. There was always some kind of an argument as to, well, that's not what it really means. It's not what it means. We did so many records requests, but one of the things that I thought was very humorous when it came to the KCRCC is the survey that we did side by side, and it's still available. It's still available.
I'm gonna put the link. You keep talking.
But this is proof in the pudding. Bob Norris doesn't know a damn thing about the Constitution. He just doesn't. Ask him in 5 years now that he's been an elected official. Ask any kind of deep-seated question about what the founders said. What did they say in the federal? What's a Federalist Papers quote? What's a constitutional quote? What is anything all the way back to the pre-revolution? What is the Mayflower Compact? Name something about Plato or Aristotle or Locke or Montesquieu, and on it goes. The guy has like zero understanding about the Constitution and the American history. And here's the problem, my friends. Too many of you out there falsely believe that a sheriff is a rank, and that somebody that was a reserve officer, it's laughable that they would go from being a reserve officer to a sheriff. How dare you not go through the entire process? As Aaron Barnard used to say, why don't you go get a real job, be a deputy in Spokane, then come back after you've actually done something? Because Aaron's stupid. She doesn't understand that the sheriff, like every other elected position, is not a rank. It is an elected position. But there are people that have touted Bob Norris and his resume, and there isn't any one of you at the KCRCC that has one time produced this resume that Bob Norris claims, when on his website he claims that he was hand-selected after 9/11 to lead elite response groups for man-made and natural events. And you saw his abysmal performance at the Canfield shooting. You see his abysmal performance when he manhandles a woman without exigent circumstances and bum rushes another citizen at a town hall.
And the degree to which these people will make excuses for him,
he's not competent.
It's embarrassing.
And if he's not competent, I mean, there's some people running for city council right now that, in my opinion, nice people, but don't come across as very competent. And you don't want nice people that are incompetent running for office.
I want to let you know, when Dan was, and this actually ties in nicely and brings full circle when we're talking about KCRCC vetting process, they do have a questionnaire that candidates fill out, and then you go sit in front of committee, and they kind of use like the answers to your survey questions as a foundation for the questions that they then ask you when you're going through your trial or sitting in front of that committee. Well, we were so appalled when the answers, the Bob Norris was asked the same questions that Dan Wilson was back in the 2024 campaign for sheriff. And when those surveys were published, I mean, I got to give it to KCRCC that they clearly didn't go in and beef up Bob Norris's answers. They were extremely embarrassing. And so I put a link to that PDF because it was so bad. And like, this has to be exposed, that we created our own chart and put Dan's answers side by side in a table next to Bob Norris's so that you could see the fault of this. I mean, it's to the point of embarrassing where you say, what is it about the answers that Bob Norris gave proves anything? And then, of course, you know, they're giving him a pass because, well, you know, we heard a local pastor when asked that, that said, well, you know, he had done this survey once before, so maybe he was just kind of thinking like he's already filled it out once 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even have to. And that's what you're dealing with in the Central Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, the KCRCC, who's publishing these voter guides. And this is behind the scenes what they're up to. They recommended a guy that gave those kind of, I mean, some of them, are you a caveman? I mean, some of them are like 3-word incomplete sentence answers.
But he was hand selected to lead Los Angeles County.
Okay.
After 9/11.
Prove it.
And to train.
Where's your proof? Where's
train
your evidence?
with the Mossad.
We just believe it because that's what he said. Where's your proof? Where's the video footage? Where has Bob Norris done a press conference anywhere that you can see in all the years, 30 years of service?
He cried
and the
though
teams
last week.
He's led. Where's the video footage? Where's anything? I mean, he's put out some photos of him in some like riot gear in LA, like in the 1981.
He could have been training. He could that could have been training pictures.
We don't know what it is, and there's nothing. There's no footprint. There's nothing
Well, remember,
verifiable.
he paid Reputation Defender $3,000 of campaign funds back in 2019.
We know he worked because he's on a full retirement disability of now almost $190,000 a year. So I guess we can prove he put in his 30 years.
But in conclusion, I mean, we're always going to go on a rant on Bob Norris.
We're like way off in the weeds now.
Most incompetent person to be in office in Kootenai County, Bob Norris, and most corrupt, in my opinion. But we've told you this past spring about Angela Brunson. You can go back, look at the Italian job. I think it's the Italian job.
Yeah, that'll be on
probably in around May. And listen, these are the people.
I'll get the link to that.
The KCRCC, despite the fact that they're putting out candidates that are inferior and don't even have the experience to be in those positions and have questionable backgrounds or questionable current actions in public, they still support these people. And what Brent's doing, and Jeff, sorry, you're complicit in this too, man. What you're doing is you're creating a group of yes men. Yes men, not who is truly the most conservative, the most constitutional, the most competent. All that matters is that you're getting butts into the pews, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Look, we're going to go to our very last slide, last page. We're going to hear from a founding father because I think this applies to the KCRCC. And we're going to talk about what James Monroe, 5th president, had to say specifically about liberty. He says it is only when the people become ignorant and corrupt, when they degenerate into a populace, that they're incapable of exercising the sovereignty. Usurpation is then an easy attainment, and a usurper soon found. The people themselves becoming the willing instruments of their own debasement and ruin. Let us then look to the great cause and endeavor to endeavor to preserve in full force. Let us by all wise and constitutional measures promote intelligence among the people as the best means of preserving our liberties. KCRCC right now, again, they're using their power to be corrupt. Instead of allowing the people to choose, they are choosing kings. They're using their money, their resources to affect those who represent us right here in Kootenai County. They understand the vulnerabilities, and Brent has moved into a position and he needs to go. He needs to be gone tomorrow, and most of the executive committee needs to be gone. We need to start fresh, and we need to, like James Madison said, you have to have competition. You have to have differing opinions. You cannot have rubber stamps. We're going to talk here probably in the next week or so about these specific power players in Kootenai County politics. They're at state level and what they all have in common. Some things that probably you should be aware of when you're listening to the talking points where they're telling some people, we don't want you because you're Californian. Yeah. Right? Uh-huh. But on the other hand, we want you because you're California. You came from a place where you guys know how to do things. So we want you. Depends on who you are.
The big shots. Yeah. Oh. We got some people sharing some scripture with us there in the comment. Somebody else that needs your t-shirt.
Yeah. Hey, this actually, I should have said this earlier. This came from a supporter, a friend. Thank you very much. I was able to finally go down and pick this up. So appreciate that. Remember to pray for my good friend and brother, Jim Harbin. Jim, if you're watching right now, I think you are. As always, we love you and we're constantly thinking and praying for you.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast, Kootenai County's only live liberty-minded program, where we will continue to expose the political power players, politicians, and those social influencers this week. Mary White and...
She's not much of an influencer of anything.
Well, she's trying to be one this week. She's trying her hand at it. But Terry Seymour, she's pretty experienced. Terry Seymour's pretty experienced.
We love you, Bob.
And she knows how to pose with a gun. We're going to keep exposing them. Visit our website at libertywithoutcompromise.com. You can get your apparel there. A hat, a hoodie. We're getting into the fall season. You need your hoodie. We got a couple of different styles there. There's the cowboy edition and then the traditional that just says Liberty Without Compromise. You can sport your wares and they're available for purchase. libertywithoutcompromise.com. It's a way you can also help support the program and wear the gear all at the same time. For our podcast, listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. And you know what? We're signing off here for the night, but you can still share this live stream anytime to your page or profile so that the word gets out. Remember, election's coming up on November 5th, and we're here to expose the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee's shady, broken sham of a vetting process. So that's what you're going to share when you share this live stream. Something else I was going to... Oh, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel because all of our live streams will be archived there. That's at the Idaho Sheriff. That's our channel name there on YouTube. Subscribe there as well. Anything else, Dan?
Look, I appreciate all of you who come week after week. You understand my sense of humor. At the end of the day, I will fight to the death to protect anybody in this county, even Bob Norris. He probably needs a little help every once in a while for somebody to protect him.
Renee Mullen, I don't know if I said it wrong, but those elections are coming up November 4th. It's probably where the day of the week lands. I think I said it wrong, November 4th. Look, it's all just my opinions. My own opinions might change. Don't come after me.
We do appreciate you coming and being a part of this family. If you know somebody that is running for office and wants to be heard, send them to us. We will be more than happy to interview them. As always, remember that you did not come from, you didn't descend from fearful men. You came from men who truly understood the times. They were educated. They pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. I want you to remain always strong and be of good courage. We love you all. Good night.